Heyo! Welcome to Paint It Plastic People. My name is Charles and I help aspiring and beginner miniature painters learn to save time and money by teaching them to paint fast and effective. And in this video, I'm showing you how to base and varnish your miniatures. So let's do it to it. How do you base and varnish a miniature? Well, when you base a miniature, all you're really doing is just painting that base. So just be careful, watch out for their feet, and you paint the base any color you like. Black's always a good choice. It really doesn't pop and doesn't take away from your miniature, but you also do want to pick a color that doesn't line up with what your miniature's feet looks like, so that way it doesn't just blend in. Now, that's not all you can do with basing. People generally think when they think basing is to add terrain, add texture, add things like that to your miniature. So you can add stuff like Vallejo's Brown Earth onto your miniature base to give it a little bit of a texture, give it a little bit of like a dirty look and feel. There's all sorts of different ones you can get. Vallejo has a whole line, you know, from different colors, different types of mud or dirt or anything like that. They even have snow and water effects as well, which is pretty cool. Or you can go another way, like Citadel paints. They make a sort of a technical paint, they call it. And what that is a paint that you can put on and it can give you a mud effect. They do those ones, but they also have these really cool ones that when you put it on kind of like a paint, like a regular paint, but when it dries, it cracks apart, which makes kind of like a really dehydrated land look. Or what I like to do, which is pretend that my characters that are on there are just so powerful that the earth is shattering underneath of them. You can also add all sorts of cool like little bits of terrain, like Gamer's Grass is a company that makes little tufts of grass you can add to your miniature. They give it a cool little effect. It's nice and simple and easy. Or you can go with other companies that make all sorts of different things. I've even seen like a hole punch style thing that you can do and it makes like little leaves. It's pretty cool. Or you can buy little dirt effects that are just kind of like grass looking effects that you can sprinkle onto your miniatures. Those are pretty cool as well. Though a cheaper way to do this, and one that I like to do, is that I actually have cats, so I have access to cat litter. So you can use cat litter to get kind of gravelly looking effects you might be going for. You can also get sand if you live in an area that it snows a bunch, or that time of the year when it does snow and get icy out. Some people use sand for traction. You can take some of that same sand and use that for effects on your miniatures as well. To apply all of this, you just put on some white glue. You might want to thin it down a little bit because if it dries, it might dry too clear and, you know, kind of blotch up on your base. But if you do apply this stuff and just let it dry on, you'll have some really cool looking effects. When you varnish a miniature, it's the very same as when you prime a miniature. And if you haven't seen my video on priming, you should check that out. But it's very much the same. If you've seen that video, you've seen what I think about varnishing a miniature as well. You can use the same methods, painting on, airbrush, or you can get a rattle can. The only thing to contend with these is worrying about the finish. So you can get 3 varieties of finish. You can get a matte finish, a satin finish, or a gloss finish. Matte finishes are matte, flat, there's no shine, there's nothing to them. A satin finish is sort of a little bit of a shine, but it's got a little bit of matte in it as well. And then if you go for a gloss finish, it's very shiny. So just something to think about when you are choosing what you're going to varnish your miniature with is what kind of a finish it has. For instance, if you want like a gritty dark fantasy, you probably want a matte finish. But if you want like a hyper realistic future-esque finish, you probably want a gloss finish. You can also combine these. For instance, what I like to do with my Power Rangers miniatures, for instance, I like to give them a matte varnish first with the rattle can and then come back with a gloss paint on finish onto their helmets. And this gives their helmets a shiny effect while the rest of them stays matte. I think it really is cool, and I think it adds a little bit extra to your miniatures. And that's something you can get into in the future, but for now, try not to overcomplicate it. Just go with one uniform look for your miniatures, and think about experimenting later. Alright, so let's say you've applied your basing paste. Think you used your Vallejo Brown Earth, like what I use. You're not happy with the color. You're like, you know what? This could be a little darker, a little brighter. One thing you can do is you can actually just paint this stuff. The paint goes on really well. You can just give a base coat like you would do if you were painting your miniature anyway. You may have to do 2 passes, you might miss some stuff here or there, but you can do this. I recommend when you do this though, use a more worn out brush that you have. This way you don't ruin a perfectly good brush. Just use a bigger worn out brush. And on top of that, you can also wash or shade your paste as well to give it even more definition. That's something really cool you can do just to give your miniature even more interest beyond what you've already got here. And it only takes a couple seconds, so this might be something you want to consider if you're getting into using textures and terrain for your miniature. Hey, just wanted to jump in real quick and ask if this video is helping you out any at all. And if it is, leaving a like down below helps the channel grow. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you. Hey, ultimately, put on whatever terrain you want to put on if you go that route. Paint that base however you want to paint it. Seal that miniature however you want to seal it. Do what you want to do, make yourself happy, because I personally believe that happiness attracts positivity. You know, I don't think that people who put out something that they're absolutely happy with are going to be attracting, you know, negative attention from people online. I think people who put out something, they're hesitant about it and they're just waiting for that bombshell to drop, are going to be drawing that bombshell to them. Now, I'm not saying you have to be over the moon with what you're putting onto your miniature, but just be happy with it, and be happy to the point that whatever anyone says, you know, whether it be good or bad, if it's bad, get it out of here. If it's good, then great. That's just extra added on top of an already great miniature. So you've made it to the end. You've stared at my ugly mug at this whole time. That's the real achievement, by the way. And you've learned all this information. You've got this knowledge all dangling around in your head. The thing I want you to remember here is don't get overwhelmed by it. Just start painting. Just paint the plastic. Just get your miniatures off your shelf and onto your gaming table. Have fun. That's what I really want you to do. So if you want, you can stick around and subscribe to my channel. And if you want, you can share this video with your friends, your family, your enemies, you know, whoever, you know, you might turn some stuff around, who knows. If you have any ideas for any techniques or any miniatures you want me to paint, or any sort of products you want me to check out, that maybe give you a bit of a review on them, so that'll save you some of your hard-earned money, just let me know down below. Type it into the comments section. I'm always checking those out all the time. And I'll be sure to check those out. I'll be sure to try and get those videos out for you. In the meantime, I do have some videos I've got planned up in my little noggin here that I'll be recording and then releasing in the future. But in the meantime, I want you to remember to get it to the table and have a good day.